Hey guys, it's James here from eBassGuitar, and in today's bass guitar lesson, I want to show you 5 blues bass line formulas that always work. I'll see you inside the lesson. So my brand new book's going to be out really soon. If you want to discover more about it, make sure you click the link which is in the description below. But before we hit the lesson content today, I would love to find out who is your favorite blues bass player, or what is your favorite blues bass line. Please let me know in the comments below. So the first blues bass line formula I'm going to show you today couldn't be simpler, and that's simply playing 4 root notes per bar, which will sound like this. If you want to get it a little bit more exciting and driving, you could double this up and play 8. But the foundation of this concept is we're simply playing root notes, and do not underestimate the simplicity of this, because many of the world's greatest blues bass players do just this. So to show you this in action, I'm going to take you through a simple 12-bar blues sequence in the key of G now. So let's take it through bar by bar. So we're going to start off with a bar of G, then we're going to go to a bar of C, and that's called a quick 4 change. Then we're going to go back to 2 bars of G, like so. Then we're going to go to 2 bars of C, and then we're going to go to 2 bars of G again. Then on bar 9 we're going to hit a D chord, then on bar 10 we're going to hit a C chord, and then on bar 11 we're going to hit a G chord again, and then back to the D chord. And this is our fundamental blues bass guitar sequence, which we need to learn inside out. So what I want to do now is demonstrate this simple root notes to the 12-bar blues sequence so you can hear how simple and effective this is. So the great thing about what I've shown you there is you've got the foundations of exactly how to play at a blues jam session, and you'll be fulfilling your role as the bass player absolutely perfectly. So let's move on to blues bass line formula number 2, and this is called triads. And triads are simply 3 notes which are related to the chord, the root, the third, the fifth. And what we're going to do is we're going to play it like this. So we're going to play the G, and then we're going to play the B, and then we're going to play the D, and then we're going to go back to the B like that. And this is going to be our fundamental pattern. And I'd like you to play it with a 2nd finger, a 1st finger, and a 4th finger like that, and then back to the 1st. And you'll see this shape fall under the hand, and this is the most critical thing. So the first stage of this is to simply just repeat that pattern over and over again. You can also double it up too, so you're playing 2 notes on each beat, so which will give you that more driving effect too. So once you're comfortable playing that 1-bar riff or the triad there, what we can do is we can superimpose it through each respective chord. So we can go. So once you've got the basic triad down, what we can do is we can superimpose this pattern over each respective chord. Let me show you. So we can play it with a bar of G to begin with, then to a bar of C, then to a bar of G again, and another bar of G, and then up to the C for 2 bars. And you can just see I'm moving this pattern around on the neck, back to 2 bars of G, then to a bar of D, to a bar of C, to a bar of G, to a bar of D, And that is the simple first formula, or the second formula rather, that you can get going with. And this is 100% authentic, and you'll hear it used a ton in rock and roll music, or rock and roll style blues rather. So let me show you what this sounds like in context. So the third blues bass line formula I want to show you today is the box shape. And this is a fundamental pattern which appears on the fingerboard and is the foundation of so many of the greatest riffs ever written. And you can use it to compose your own riffs and bass lines too. So much so, I've written a whole course on it called the Riff Masters Bass Course, which is available in the Bass Lab Plus membership over at eBassGuitar. But let me show you the foundations of the box shape. So our first chord is G, and that will be our first note. Then if we put a D down at the 5th fret on the A string like so, that's the second note of the box shape. And then the F natural there, which is at the 3rd fret on the D string, that will be our next note, the 3rd note of this pattern. And then the octave like so, which will be under our 3rd or our 4th finger at the 5th fret on the D string. So we end up with these 4 notes. Like so. And what you'll see is there's a box-shaped pattern which is created on the fingerboard like so. So this is our fundamental core box shape riff. And what we can do is we can take it through each respective chord. And then up to the C like that. Then back to the G like this. Then up to the D. To the C, and then to the G again. And to the D. And what you'll see is it falls really, really nicely under the hand. So let me show you what this sounds like in context, and I'll double it up so I'll play 8th notes on this example. So our 4th blues bass line formula is what I call the major pentatonic forward position. And this again creates a very distinctive shape on the fingerboard, which sounds absolutely fantastic for blues bass. So let me take you through how it works. So we're going to start on the G, and like this, and then we are going to slide up to a B on the E string like this, like so. So that's our first 2 notes, like that. And then we're going to catch the D, preferably with our first finger at the 5th fret on the D string, like that. And then we're going to get an E with our 4th finger on the 7th fret on the A string. So this is our pattern. And this is a really common blues bass line. To make this formula a little bit more interesting, I'm going to put 2 notes on the end. So we're going to go from the E back to the D like this. So we end up with this. And this is fantastic because we can then superimpose it through all of the chords which are in the blues sequence, and you get that really, really cool slide in the middle of that riff, and it also falls really fantastically under the hand too. So let me show you what this sounds like in context. guys, if you're enjoying this lesson, be sure to subscribe to the channel because we release a lesson like this every single week, specifically focused on the beginner to intermediate bass guitar player. There is a red button somewhere around this video, so you'll be sure to be the first to know when a new video goes live. So the fifth blues bassline formula that we're going to cover today is what I call the reverse. And this can be applied to any of the previous three blues bassline formulas that I've covered. But to show you this in action, I'm going to use the box shape to begin with. So let me show you. We're going to start off with the root. Then we are going to reverse the second, third, and fourth notes of the riff that we covered earlier. So the earlier riff was this. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the root, and then we're going to jump to the octave or the G up at the 5th fret, and then we're going to go to the 3rd fret, and then we're going to go to the 5th fret on the A string. So we end up with this pattern. Same notes, just we've reversed 3 of the notes, and it gives it a very different flavor. In all honesty, we can do this with all of the riffs that we've covered today. So the triad one, we could do this rather than, we could do this. And it will work really nicely. And for the major pentatonic forward position, you could do this, which I absolutely love. So there's so much you can play around with this idea of simply reversing the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th notes of each riff. But let me show you what this sounds like in context now. So to wrap up the lesson today, I want to give you a bonus formula, or concept rather, because one of the questions I get asked a lot is how do I start jamming and creating my own bass lines? And of course you can do that with all of the formulas that we've covered today, and I want to show you how. So what I would do to begin with is just pick one formula. What I wouldn't do is chop and change between formulas in the middle of blues sequences, because that can sound a little bit strange. But what we can start doing is just tweaking individual notes. And what I want to show you is how to do this with the major pentatonic forward position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this pattern that I showed you earlier, like that, and I'm going to stick one more note on the top there, which is the octave G, like that. And so that is just that note, but up the octave there. So this is our pattern. So what we could do is we could have our first version of the riff as this, like that. So just slow it down, like that. And the second version we could create is like that, where we end up on the high G at the top. And this is all about just making little subtle tweaks. And we can do this with the rhythm too. So we could play quarter notes, so like that, or we could double up certain notes, or so just start off by changing 1 or 2 notes within the formula, and then just start subtly tweaking the rhythm, and you can make all these subtle variations, and this is the first step to start jamming and creating your own bass lines in the moment. So let me give you a demonstration with the track to finish off this lesson. guys, that's the end of today's bass guitar lesson. If you've enjoyed this lesson, I've got 2 more videos I'd love you to check out. The first one is a lesson on how to play blues walking bass, where we take apart the legendary Stevie Ray Vaughan track Pride and Joy. And the second one is called 3 blues fingering patterns, where we develop the formulas that we've covered today. Also, if you want to check out my brand new book when it's out, make sure you click in the link in the description below. Cheers, I've been James from eBassGuitar, and I'll catch you on the lesson next week.